Right, hello and welcome back to my channel. This is the second video on this channel, and I'll be making two videos on the basic rules of backgammon. The reason I'm making two videos is because I don't want to make one long video. I'd rather make, two medium-sized videos and one long one, just to keep everything interesting. The following two videos are for people who do not know how to play backgammon. So if you already know how to play backgammon, then skip this video and skip the next video, and just go to the future videos on this channel. And in the future videos I'll be explaining some of the basic movements of the first roll of the dice, and then I'll be playing games through, and also I'll be posting some videos of highlights of games. See, backgammon is a game that you can play by yourself. You can, well, normally you'd play with an opponent, but in order to practice and become better at the game, excuse me, you can actually play against yourself. And you can do that multiple times until you really develop the skills. Anyhow, so if you don't know anything about backgammon, well, backgammon fundamentally, you have 30 checkers in total, 15 checkers each side. Now, excuse me again, bit of a frog in the throat. You have 15 white checkers, 15 black checkers. Backgammon sets come with different coloured checkers, like some sets come with cream and brown checkers, some come with black and white checkers. I'm just going to call it black and white, it's just easier that way. Yeah, so 15 checkers each side, and it's set up in this manner that I've set up the board now. Now, in this case, from white's point of view, white is going anti-clockwise. And from black's point of view, black would be going clockwise. But you can set them the opposite way as well, where white would go clockwise, black would go anti-clockwise. I'll show you that in future videos. In some cases I'll be setting it this way, in some cases I'll be setting it the other way. It's kind of a mirror image. It makes no difference whatsoever to the fundamental rules of the game. So yeah, so 15 checkers each side, and the long-term goal of backgammon, see, in this case, now in this particular case, this here, where I've got my hand now, is white's the quarter that belongs to white, and this here is the quarter that belongs to black. And by the way, you can see the sleeve of my nightgown. Those of you who are watching in the Northern Hemisphere, remember it's the Southern Hemisphere winter. June is the first month of winter here in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm actually in Canberra, the capital of Australia, and Canberra is an elevated city, so it gets rather cold here. Yeah, so, and it's also a cloudy day today, so it's pretty cold indoors even during the day, but most winter days in Canberra are sunny. Today's one of those exceptional days. Anyway, yeah, so the long-term goal for white is to get all of his checkers into his quarter. And the long-term goal for black is to get all of his checkers into his quarter. That's the long-term goal. The short-term goal is, let's just talk about white, is for white to get, well, these two checkers here are the problem checkers for white, and these two checkers here are the problem checkers for black. They're the checkers that can get trapped in the opponent's quarter. So the short-term goal is to try and get these two checkers out of your opponent's quarter, and at the same time try to trap your opponent's problem checkers here in your quarter. And that way you gradually, as you do that, you gradually move your checkers to your own quarter, as would your opponent to his quarter. Now, the point, each of these spots here, triangular spots, are called points. So for white, this point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It goes 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and 5 and 6 and so on and so forth until 24. But for black, that point it's the opposite. That point's number 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, etc., etc. And this is point 24 for black. Now, I have to explain this because that's part and parcel of the game backgammon. You don't have to remember the numbers for all the spots. You don't have to think, oh gee, I've got one checker on spot 24, one checker on spot 23. What does that mean? You don't have to worry about that. It's just a formality, really. I mean, in the end game, which I'll discuss in the next video, you do have to even during the game, you do have to know from 1 to 6 in your quarter and 1 to 6 in the opponent's quarter. You do have to know that much as far as the numbers of the points are concerned, but not much beyond that, really. So, and you see, when you watch these videos of the basic rules of backgammon, then you should watch your future videos on this channel when I play the games, because once the basic rules are explained to you, the best way to learn backgammon is to play backgammon. So once you watch these 2 videos, then watch your future videos and it'll all fall into place. In backgammon, the pieces cannot move backwards, they can only move forward. So when white travels, in this case anti-clockwise, the pieces can only move this way, they can't move backwards. And similarly for black, moving clockwise, the pieces have to move that way, they can't move backwards. Now, once you have all of your pieces in your quarter, you start taking them off the board, but all pieces have to be in your quarter, but I'll explain that in the next video. So backgammon's a game where the long-term goal of the game is to get all your pieces off the board, and the first person to get all of his pieces off the board wins. Now, you have to play in accordance with the roll of the dice. Now, black plays, excuse me, with the dice that is white with black dots, and sorry, white plays with the dice that's white with black dots, and black plays with the, well, it's really brown in this case, with the brown dice with the white marks. But this depends on where you've bought your backgammon set from, because in the Middle East there's only one set of dice, the white dice with the black dots. But in the Western world there's 2 sets of dice. So if you're playing in the Middle East or with a Middle Eastern board, each player rolls with the same set of dice. But if you're playing with one designed in the West, each player uses his own set of dice. And also, this board I bought is a Western board. It's actually quite unusual for the West. See, the dice actually make a sound as you roll them on the board, whereas most boards in the Western world come like with a felt covering, so you don't really hear the noise of the sound of the dice. And well, the checkers are a bit bigger, the boards are a little bit bigger, you know. A friend of mine bought this for me as a gift, so he had to search long and hard. He knew I liked the ones with the with the wooden ones where it emits a sound. So yeah, he bought this for me as a gift, yeah, the different sets look different. Some are wooden, some are not. But really, it doesn't really change the fundamentals of the game. It's the same game, like a chess set, you know. Chess sets all come in different sizes, they look different. So, now, I'm just having a bit of a sip of my hot chocolate to keep my throat clear. In chess, white always moves first. That is not the case in backgammon. If you're playing in the Middle East, what happens is you say to your opponent, or your opponent says to you, big or small. And one person says say big, right? So you roll the dice, and you roll a 2, your opponent rolls the dice and also rolls a 2. So, but both the dice rolled 2, so therefore 2 and 2 are equal, so you have to roll again. So let's roll again. White rolls a 5, black rolls a 3. 5 is greater than 3, and you had said big, so big wins, so therefore white rolls first. But if you'd said small, black would roll first, because black rolled a 3, and 3 is smaller than 5. That's the way you determine who rolls the dice first if you're playing someone of the Middle East. In the Western world, it's different. What happens? White rolls 1 dice, black rolls 1 dice, and big always wins. So black rolled a 4, white rolled a 3, so black therefore gets first roll. But remember, in the Middle East, you pick up the dice and then roll again. Whoever wins to get the first roll, we'll pick up the dice and roll again. But not so in the West. Whoever rolls bigger gets the first roll, but you have to play that roll. As I said, not the case in the Middle East. You pick up the dice and then roll again as a first roll. But in the West, this becomes a first roll. So black's got to now play 4 and 3. You must play according to what the dice gives you. So I'll just roll one, say, for white. Well, that's a 6 and a 4. So white must play a 6 and a 4. Now, he can move the same checker 6 spots and then 4 spots again, or he can move 2 different checkers. He can move one checker 6 spots and another checker 4 spots. So, for example, he could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? He could do that. Or he could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. He can also do that. Now, if you roll a double, for example, let's just say you roll, let's make it easy, a double 2, right? If you roll a double, you must play whatever the double is, in this case double 2, you must play that 4 times. So with the double 2, white could go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Could do that if he wants to, but the vast majority of the time in backgammon, you don't do that. See, in this example, white could go 1, 2, that's moving 2 checkers twice, but he's got to move another 2 checkers twice, so he could go 1, 2 again. So that's a total of 4 checkers moved 2 spots. But he could also go 1, 2, and 1, 2 here. Oops, sorry. 1, 2 here. Could do that. Or he could go 2 there and 1, 2 here. As long as he plays according to what the dice gives him. There are situations, as you will see in future games, where there's a roll of the dice where it's impossible to play that roll, but you will see that in future games. And or you could play, like, say, if you roll a 5 and a 4, it's possible to play the 5 but not play the 4. So you play the 5 and you can't play the 4, or you can't play either 5 or 4. You know, so it could even happen with doubles. So there are situations where you can't play what the dice gives you. In which case, if you can play one of the dice, then you play one of them, and then the opponent rolls again. Or if you can't play either, well, you lose a turn. Now, another rule is if the dice have to fall within the perimeter of the inside of the board, either this side or that side. So, for example, if you roll and one of the dice ends up here, that doesn't count. You have to roll again. You just have to roll again totally. It just doesn't count. Or if the dice wall falls on a checker, again, that roll's not counted. You have to roll again. The reason for that is not so much on this board, because the checkers and the dice are a bit small, but on bigger boards with bigger dice and bigger checkers, the dice can sometimes land crooked. Now, if it lands slightly crooked, or even very crooked, people can have arguments. Oh, look, yeah, but that's a 4. No, I say it's a 5. You know, there can be arguments as to whether it's really a 4 or really a 5. You know, and we don't want arguments. So therefore, it's just determined that if the dice falls crooked on a checker or outside the board, you know, it could land crooked like that against the side of the board, or crooked outside, whatever. So the universal rule now applies that if the dice does not land where it should, it just doesn't count, whether it's crooked or not, to avoid potential arguments. And as I said, you must play. On most occasions, it is possible to play what's given on both the dice, and you must play that. You are obliged to play that. So I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to end this video now, and I'm going to put some of the other basic rules on the next video. So thanks for watching. Please rate and comment, and I'll see you in the very next video.